Imagine a pope, not adorned in the customary splendor, but carrying his own worn luggage, a simple act of self-sufficiency that resonated far beyond the Vatican walls. Picture him, after the momentous election that placed him at the head of the Catholic Church, politely settling his hotel bill, a gesture of ordinary courtesy that seemed extraordinary in his new position. And instead of choosing the opulent apostolic palace, a residence fit for kings, he opted for a modest guest house, a humble dwelling that spoke volumes about his priorities. This is Pope Francis, and his story, far from being a tale of regal grandeur, is a compelling narrative of revolutionary humility. Before he ascended to the papacy, Jorge Bergoglio, as he was known, lived a life worlds apart from the hallowed halls of the Vatican. He worked as a nightclub bouncer in the vibrant, sometimes volatile, streets of Buenos Aires, a job that exposed him to the raw realities of everyday life. This unlikely background, far from being a footnote, profoundly shaped his character and his approach to leadership. He never forgot his roots, the ordinary struggles of ordinary people, a perspective that would later define his papacy. When he was elected pope in 2013, he made a symbolic choice that sent shockwaves through the church. He chose the name Francis, after the saint of poverty and simplicity, a figure who embodied the values he sought to uphold. This choice was not merely a name, it was a declaration, a manifesto of his intentions. The tradition for newly elected popes is one of immediate transition into the apostolic palace, a sprawling complex boasting over 1,000 rooms, a testament to centuries of papal power and prestige. Within this palace are the papal apartments, a luxurious 10-room suite staffed by 30 individuals dedicated to the Pope's every need. But Francis firmly deviated from this tradition. He refused the grandeur, choosing instead a simple, 2-room apartment within the Vatican guest house, Casa Santa Marta. His explanation was straightforward and deeply human: I need to live among people. His modest residence became more than just a place to sleep, it was a powerful statement against isolation, a deliberate choice to remain connected to the everyday experiences of others. However, Pope Francis's humility was not merely a matter of aesthetics or personal preference. Its true depth was revealed in his actions. In 2013, he performed the traditional Maundy Thursday foot washing ceremony, but with a radical difference. He knelt before 12 prisoners, a diverse group that included women and Muslims, individuals traditionally excluded from this sacred ritual. For 2 millennia, popes had exclusively washed the feet of priests, a symbolic representation of Christ washing the feet of his apostles. Francis's simple act shattered this tradition, rewriting papal symbolism and extending the message of service and humility to the marginalized and the different. His choice of transportation further underscored his commitment to simplicity. He preferred to drive a well-worn 1984 Renault 4 with nearly 200,000 miles on its odometer, a humble gift from a fellow priest. He frequently rejected the heavily armored and imposing Popemobile, opting instead for ordinary vehicles whenever possible. When questioned about his modest cars, his response cut to the heart of the issue: how can it be that a servant of God becomes so rich? This direct challenge to material wealth within the church resonated deeply with many while unsettling others. Perhaps one of his most transformative moments, a phrase that encapsulated his revolutionary approach, came with just 5 words: "Who am I to judge?" Spoken in response to a question about gay clergy in 2013, this simple statement signaled a profound shift in the church's public discourse. While not altering core doctrines, it represented a significant change in approach, prioritizing listening, understanding, and compassion over immediate condemnation. This created a fascinating paradox at the heart of Francis's papacy. The humbler he appeared on a personal level, the more profound and far-reaching his challenges to the established institutional structures became. He broke with tradition by appointing more women to senior roles within the Vatican bureaucracy, a move that challenged centuries of male dominance. He embarked on a mission to reform the often opaque and corrupt Vatican finances, tackling entrenched interests and demanding greater transparency. He also initiated a process of decentralizing authority within the church, empowering local bishops and synods. Traditional leadership often relies on projecting an image of unwavering strength and unassailable authority. Francis, in contrast, displayed a remarkable degree of vulnerability. Having lived with only part of one lung since the age of 21, he spoke openly about his health struggles, normalizing vulnerability in a position often associated with invincibility. Even during his final hospitalization in 2025, he reportedly refused special treatment, choosing to be treated alongside other patients. In him, physical weakness became a different kind of strength, a testament to his reliance on faith and the support of others. Unsurprisingly, his radical approach was met with fierce resistance from within the church. Conservative cardinals openly published formal dubia, raising serious doubts and questioning the orthodoxy of his teachings. Some even went so far as to label him a heretic, while others argued that his informal style and openness to dialogue were undermining the very authority of the papacy. However, this criticism often inadvertently revealed the underlying concerns of those resisting his reforms, the fear of power sharing and the erosion of long-held privileges. In a departure from the practices of many of his predecessors, Francis made it a priority to travel to the margins of society, visiting places that popes rarely dared to tread, war zones scarred by conflict, overcrowded refugee camps teeming with displaced humanity, desolate prisons housing the forgotten, impoverished slums bursting with life and struggle, and regions ravaged by environmental disasters. His focus on what he consistently referred to as the peripheries was not merely a matter of geographical outreach, it was a fundamental leadership philosophy: go where power isn't, listen to the voices that are seldom heard. Consider the profound implications of his simple lifestyle. When Francis chose to live without luxury, he wasn't just saving the Vatican money. He was modeling a direct challenge to the entire hierarchical structure of the Church. If the leader of over 1 billion Catholics doesn't need a palatial residence and a retinue of staff, what legitimate need does any bishop have for a sprawling mansion and excessive deference? His personal example sent ripples of questioning and potential change throughout the Church. Comparing Francis to his immediate predecessors highlights the distinct nature of his leadership. Benedict XVI, a brilliant theologian, focused on doctrinal precision and intellectual clarity. John Paul II, a charismatic global figure, emphasized doctrinal clarity and a strong stance against secularism. Francis, while not neglecting doctrine, prioritized encounter over enforcement, compassion over condemnation, and dialogue over rigid adherence to dogma. He famously described the Church not as a rigid customs office meticulously checking who is in and who is out, but as a field hospital after battle. This powerful metaphor encapsulates his leadership philosophy: meet people in their pain, offer healing and support first, and reserve judgment for later. Go directly to the wounded, both physically and spiritually, rather than waiting for them to navigate bureaucratic hurdles to reach you. His leadership style was vividly captured in a memorable moment during his visit to America. Instead of attending a formal and undoubtedly lavish lunch with powerful politicians, Pope Francis chose to share a simple meal with homeless people. The message conveyed was unmistakable: true leadership prioritizes serving those with the least power and influence, not those who already wield it. Even in his later years, as his health declined, Francis faced continued criticism and complexities within his leadership. His nuanced stance on civil unions, supporting them while maintaining the Church's traditional doctrine on marriage, drew both praise and condemnation. His emphasis on open dialogue sometimes resulted in impulsive statements that were open to interpretation. While advocating for mercy and understanding, he also demonstrated a sternness towards traditionalist elements within the Church who resisted his reforms. Leadership through humility, it became clear, was not without its inherent contradictions and challenges. Pope Francis passed away on April 21, 2025, leaving behind a Catholic Church that was in many ways divided by his reforms, yet also undeniably transformed by his model of leadership. His enduring legacy may well be this, proving that the simple, profound act of washing feet can hold more transformative power than the most ornate of crowns. The fundamental question that remains is whether his profound humility was merely a personal virtue embraced by one remarkable pope, or whether it has laid the foundation for a permanent revolution in the very nature of papal leadership for centuries to come.